Our topic today is Jesus speaks to a Muslim woman. And I'd like to begin by asking you to share a defining moment from your life.
I'll share the biggest defining moment of my life, and that was realizing that Christ is around by visiting me. There were events that led up to that. And I guess when you really do ask God a question, and you ask it enough times until you really drill down to the purity of your heart, you do hear the answers. They're there, but you get to hear them. It was April 11th, 2001. I had just turned 40 a couple of weeks beforehand, and one of my clients took me out for my birthday. And we were having dinner, and she was late coming in. And it turned out she had an appointment with a therapist before she came to me, but she didn't tell me that. She just said, I'm sorry, I'm late. I'm glad I got here and whatever. We had dinner and we were talking. And while we were talking, I was sitting just like we're sitting now. And I felt a very warm breeze come through me. It was like through my body. It wasn't, how you normally feel a breeze, it's on your skin and you get the chills or whatever happens to you. It wasn't like that at all. It was internal, and it was a very calming, peaceful effect. And all I could do was just feel so good. And I don't drink or anything, and I knew it wasn't from that. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, I see all this light, and all I could see was between you and me, let's say, was just pure white light. And within that light, I saw the form of a face. And that face started talking to me, but it didn't move lips or anything. It just was like, in a second, I knew all of these things. And I felt very absolute knowing them. It didn't feel like, oh, I'm so excited and happy, and it didn't feel like, it didn't have the emotions we have attached to it. It was just a very absolute, all-knowing kind of a feeling. And I knew all of these things in a second. And before I could stop to think, he said, I'm Christ. And I'm thinking, Christ who? Like Jesus Christ in the Christian churches? And he just said, I'm Christ. And so I'm like, okay. And then he said, your job is to bridge people's souls back to them. And I'm like, okay. I'm single with 2 kids, and I'm working, and I'm just making it. And how do I do that? And before I could finish thinking it, it's like he already knew. And then in an instant started talking through me to the girl in front of me about her family. And I guess the issues that she had come to dinner with, he addressed those issues. She was asking me, what did you just say? And I said, I keep saying it. I couldn't stop. So she pulled her checkbook out and started writing on her deposit slips what I was saying. And then it kind of calmed down, and in the middle of it, I didn't know what was happening. It became interesting to me, what he was saying to her. And then I thought maybe something really wrong had happened in her family, and I said, were you molested? And she said, no. And I said, oh, okay, it just sounded so serious, And he addressed to her about her relationship with her father and why it was strained and where the strengths were, and his weakness was actually exemplified onto her. And that's why he took it out on her, because she was the most like him. And he wanted her to succeed where he didn't. And that's why he pushed her more than he pushed the other kids. And it all made sense to her. She was no longer angry. It gave her love in an objective form, and something we can do something with, because anger stops us from doing. Anger gives us steps backwards. We say, I'm going to do this and this and this, which takes us away from love. But he brought her into love. It was so beautiful to watch and to see. And then it like went away. And she wanted to take those slips and leave me and run and call her mother and tell her mother what just happened. In the meantime, I told her, well, something just came to me, and he said he was Christ. She believed me, which I did not expect, because I was still trying to believe myself in that moment. And when she wanted to leave, I'm like, no, you cannot go. You have to stay with me, because I can't be alone right now. And I'm going to go home alone, and I don't know if I can do this. And she said, you should see your face. And I'm like, what does it look like? And she said, I don't even know. You just look peaceful, but you're so bright. I wish I could have seen it, but it wasn't meant for me to see, but feeling it was pretty darn good. So that was one defining moment that really led to many others, that led to my writing changing, my writing teaching me a lot more now that everything was out in the open. I knew I was going to see someone. I didn't expect it to be Christ. And me being Muslim, it taught me that if he can come to me, all this talk about God is one is true. There isn't one God for each religion. Religion is a vehicle to God if that's what brings you closer to God. Now, if it takes you away from God, you really have to understand why you're there, because the goal isn't to be away from that love. It's to be closer to it. And it's not like what we think. It's not unrelatable. It's not far away. It doesn't exist in fear and doubt and worry. All those things stagnate us, again, taking away from who we are and who we could be. And that's definitely not what God does. God gives. And then I started seeing what we as people take away. What we allowed ourselves to tap into that beauty and say, you can't have it unless it's this way. You can't have it unless you've paid this much money. You can't have that unless, you have this car or that house. Or we turned love into things. And then God's love was separate. I'm like, where did God's love go? And that's actually the driver of all of our cars. When we're mad at God, we say we don't believe in him, or we didn't get what we wanted from him, but then we're practicing conditional love on God. And a lot of times we can only do that if that's what we feel he's doing to us. And a lot of times we're taught that.